Before the season even kicks off, soccer fans are already making predictions. Who wins the league? Who qualifies for Europe? And who's lifting the trophy at season's end? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code CUP26 to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade the beautiful game. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn. Welcome to How Are the podcast. And after a trip to sunny York earlier in the summer, for most people at least, we then had the heat and the profile-raising trip to the US and included a little bit of footy. Then we won a lump of coal for our efforts last weekend in what was a really good competitive friendly against a useful Lynn side. And now we face our last test before the real thing, which puts Sunderland and Rennes on the same pitch for the first time in the two clubs' history. But if as many people have had ticketing issues as we hear, it might be in front of one man and a dog. But I've got a couple of people to help me chat all about the game and anything else we can think of as usual. First up, it's the very stylish Gavin Henderson. Hello, mate.
Stylish, I'll take that. I'm not taking my dog to the match today, unfortunately, but I will be there, so it might just be one man, actually.
Yeah, well, I'm calling you stylish because you sent a picture this morning of you
Yeah.
because you camped out with the early risers and got the new kit, didn't you, mate?
I didn't quite come out. I just I'm sad and wake up at 5 o'clock every day and thought, well, I'm awake. Let's go down, join the queue, and then got there and realised I probably should have just came an hour and a half later than I did because not as many people were there as there were for the home top. But alas, I was in there nice and early. I was back home for 8:30, giving the Ben hers, and it's a lovely kit. I mean, I said this on the pod yesterday. I think it's great, but even when you see it in person, it's brilliant, and it's not just the top as well, though, because all the training wear is brilliant. The travel wear is brilliant. Like all of it. It's my birthday soon. And I've sent links to all of it to our lads and said, anybody asks you what I want for my birthday, just there you go. Just get us one of these, basically, because all of them are nice. They just carry on knocking it out the park, don't they? Yeah. I've had it on for a little bit this morning, and then I've put it away. I'm going to wear it at the match. So, I'm sure there'll be many of us wearing the same shirt at the game.
And trying to see if they've got enough money in the bank account. I know Craig Chapman was on yesterday saying thankfully his kids weren't bothered about this third kit and he was absolutely over the moon.
Until they see someone wearing it and they'll be like, Dad, you know that third kit that I didn't want, I do now.
That's it. Got to keep, got to finish the collection off for these three kits. The other thing I was going to say I loved about that picture you sent, people who rock up to the club shop for these things and they bring their own little camper chair. I love that.
Oh, I'm hardcore, though I didn't. And then regretted it after a half an hour. I had to sit on the floor. I wish I had. There were people camping from yesterday afternoon, man. I mean, fair play to them, but I couldn't do it myself. At least the weather's been good. It would have been nice and warm through the night because it was red hot this morning when I was stood there.
I remember a bunch of people queuing up for the playoff final tickets in '97 at the Stadium of Light. Everyone just took loads of crates of cans and everything like that. And then I'm sure in the morning they changed where the queue should be, so it ended up just being a riot. But anyway, to tell us maybe all about that, and also joining us is the fans' favourite, as we have the smooth talker himself, which is, of course, Andrew Smithson. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Mara. I don't know about fans' favourite, and I certainly don't know anything about any riots. So don't try and get me involved in any dodgy stuff like that. I'll tell you what, mine, Chris. Bless you. You're still upset about missing that York game. You know, when you mentioned it a few minutes ago, I could see on your face you still haven't got over it.
I'm still very cross about it because I was genuinely the weeks before that. I was genuinely looking forward to it. And then I couldn't sort the kids out and they had millions of things that I couldn't let them down. So I had to do the dad thing. But these things hurt for a while. and it takes a while,
Yeah.
especially when everyone's afterward. Oh, it was a great session at York, wasn't it? Oh, yeah. Oh, lovely day, wasn't it? Perfect weather. Oh, lovely. A few beers on the riverside. Oh, saw the game, had a few beers after. Yeah, cheers, Andrew. It's just all coming out again.
Well, listen, I told you I took my car, so I wasn't drinking, if that makes you feel any better at all.
I didn't. I got the train back at stupid o'clock, and I
Yeah.
loved it. It was great.
Yeah, when I say people send a message, I mainly mean Gav, to be honest. And then he said, was it you were in the Stone Roses bar and everything, Gav?
Aye. All the classics, mate.
Oh,
We're at Katie O'Brien's down the riverside as well.
yes. Well, I'll get over this one day. One day I'll forget about it, but I'm sure Andrew will keep bringing it up. But actually, can you remember?
It was you that brought it up, not me, Chris.
Yes, I know, but it was a fleeting. You got us right into it. You got us angry about it again. But I was going to say, can you remember that people queuing up for the tickets to that playoff final? Because I'm sure everyone was waiting for like 2 days because it was this big thing, and then I'm sure a steward said or something early in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning. Oh, you just have to queue up over there, and everyone just legged it. And then people who were at the front were now at the back, and also.
Yeah, there was definitely some sort of confusion, and it was on the front of the paper. When people get the sad face on for the Echo when they stood there without their ticket or whatever. Yeah, I can't remember the specifics, but you're right. That fella must have been the most unpopular person at your side when he just turned up and said, "Oh, excuse me."
Can you imagine if social media had existed then? By the way,
Oh, bloody hell.
crikey,
Well, whenever I think of those pictures, I always think about that old couple who was standing in front of the Virgin Media TV screen. And the fellas holding up a bill while they've been charged like 100 quid, and the fellas looking very sheepish.
been watching Babe Station and didn't want to admit it.
But anyway, let's get into stuff, and let's maybe get into some of those sad faces. Because Gav, I think we need to start really with. I know we talked about it on the news roundup, but I think we should start with ticketing, because let's just bring it in specifically for this game for a couple of reasons before we get into the actual football bit. It doesn't seem that, as I said in the intro, it could be in front of one man and a dog, and it's the last friendly before the real thing. And I know you said you were maybe trying to avoid it until the last minute and all this. If everyone does that, I mean, it's like a game behind closed doors, and then does it start impacting what's actually happening on the pitch? But first of all, again, just the mess of ticketing. It's just crazy, isn't it? We're talking about this last game, and people are struggling to actually give the club some money to get a ticket for this.
Yeah, well, I did kind of leave it last minute, and I've managed to buy them and apply them to each person who I'm going with flawlessly. So looks like whatever problems they were having, they've managed to skirt around. I did see a bit of stuff on social media saying that basically the old links that weren't working for people had been, I think they'd been recovered and stuff, and people were now able to get a ticket and what have you. So hopefully they've sorted them problems, but it's just one of a number of things. To be honest, my main issue with ticketing around this game has been them opening up in segments and only doing part of the stadium. I know there's probably a financial reason why they only open certain stands, but you can't tell me that if they didn't say last big hurrah before the season starts, get in your seat, give a loyalty point for buying a ticket, make this a big deal, and also make it a thing where people can actually boost their loyalty points. Get the stadium full, get in your own seat ahead of the season starting, and they would have. All right, it's not going to sell the stadium out, but can't tell me they wouldn't at least, get 25,000 in that lower bowl. I genuinely think it's made a massively less attractive game by just opening certain parts of the stadium up, and people don't want to go. I know for a fact, I know people who are like, oh God, I don't want to sit in the east stand. Don't want to sit over there. Like, I want to sit in my seat. And it doesn't feel as appealing. It's already hard enough convincing people to come along. So I'm in the south stand. I'm going to be in the standing part of the south stand. That's not where I normally am. I'm normally in the southwest corner towards the back. It's begrudgingly that I'm there, but I'm going to be. I wouldn't miss the game for the world, so I'm going to be there. But it's not as. It sounds so silly saying it like this, because at the end of the day, a seat's a seat, and you're in the ground watching the game. But I like being in my seat. I like to be where I've stood for God, 25 years now. That's where I want to be. I didn't want to be in someone else's seat. I want to be in mine. And there'll be so many other people exactly the same, thinking, it's only a bloody friendly, I'll not bother. So there's a lot that could have done a lot better. I hope after this they look at doing this differently. Let's say we get when do we enter the League Cup? Is it the third or the fourth round? Third round, isn't it? Yeah, Andrew's just put 3 fingers up. I hope it was 3 anyways. But yeah. So in the third round we enter the competition. If we get a home game, are they going to do this for that? Because they did it last year for the Huddersfield game, and it was shite. It was absolutely shite. Like nobody wants to be in a half-empty stadium. It just doesn't give a great impression of the club when we do. Like I say, I'm sure there'll be financial reasons. I think it was explained away when we were in League One and they done this sort of thing. It was basically because it costs money to open up those areas of the stand, open up those other areas of the stadium, and stock it with beer and food and staff and stewards and all these things. Yes, there's a cost attached to it. It's just shit, and it's a bit small time, and it's very League One, and I don't like it.
Well, if there's anything like Roker Park, the pies will still be off back in May for the Chelsea game. They'll just reheating.
It's still piping hot.
Just confirm, though, Gav, because I genuinely don't know. Is it just the Roker end in the East Stand then open?
So at the minute, I'm on the ticketing website now. You can only buy tickets in the southeast corner and the Roker end. However, when they did open up last week, you could buy East Stand, and I think the northeast corner was also open. So obviously for the TV cameras, that stand's going to look pretty full, isn't it? But behind the goal is going to be empty. And where I am in the southwest corner is going to be empty unless there's a massive surge in ticket sales. But I'm just looking at it now. I mean, the south stand now, there's a ton of tickets left. So they haven't sold very well. Maybe people are waiting until last minute. I think this whole issue with the accounts over the last week or so will have had a knock-on effect on people's confidence in buying tickets. They'll have thought, well, I can't even get my bloody account to buy them. So and that will have put people off. It might not be many, but it'll still be in a fair size, I reckon.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go on, Andrew.
Sorry, Chris. I keep doing this at the moment. I'm not meaning to. I was just going to say that the problem is now, though, if there is a late surge, the club are going to have problems because they, like you mentioned, Gab, they will have staffed it on however many people they were expecting. So you might end up with this bizarre situation where come kickoff, there's thousands of empty seats, but they're not able to get people in them because they haven't got enough staff. So I understand, money's important and that, but yeah, they have kind of backed themselves into a corner with this one, it appears.
Yeah, but these home friendlies, and we touched on a previous pod, Andrew, something I don't really get. And actually, I've got a quick history question for you here, and you might tell us I've got the answer wrong when you actually come up with the answer. Since the stadium opened, do you know how many home friendlies at the stadium we've actually won?
It must only be 2 or 3,
One.
is it?
One, did you say that?
Yeah, 1.
2 or 3?
Since it opened.
I'll say 3. I'll say 3.
Go on. Were you going to say 3?
I was going to say Andrew's got to bang on. Well, as I make it, like I said, it's back of a fag packet. I quickly had a look, and I got. And the thing is, I think it's only that high because of the COVID season, because we played Harrogate and Carlisle, I think it was, at the Stadium Light in that COVID season, and then we played Hull City in the summer of 2021 before we kicked off against Wigan in the final game before the season started. But all other games, we've either got beat or we've drawn, go back to, I think, Sampdoria we drew, Juventus we drew. They were a little bit of fun. But, Andrew, these home games are always, and Gav's been talking there. I mean, I was looking at the Hull City game back in 2021 that we won. There was about 7,000 there at the Stadium of Light. You almost start thinking, what's the reason? What is the thinking behind this last home game? And Gav made a good suggestion there. I mean, the club could make a massive thing of it. It could be like a Sunderland Open Day. You could have, they could put like a marquee up outside with a bar. People could drink outside. There could be a meet the players thing. Players who aren't involved in the game could come out and sign some autographs. You could have, the club shop obviously open, but then outside you could have a big merchandise thing, and the club could be flogging all sorts. Even though they could be flogging the gear that they're reducing and try and get rid of. That they've still got in a warehouse. People would lap it up if they reduced it to, next and out. it seems like if they're going to put a game on, do something else with it. Make it bigger than just a pre-season friendly where we get less than half the capacity full.
Yeah, you're right. There's an opportunity because this has been an issue for a long time now. Nobody was expecting this to be a big attendance today, even though it's decent quality opposition we've got lined up as well. But Chris, I agree entirely, particularly at this time of year when it's summer holidays and parents might be grateful for something cheap to do to take the kids to. If it's reduced prices and like you say, there's a couple of meet and greets and bits and bobs, it's probably an affordable day out if you price it correctly. You've also got a lot of people at the moment who can't get tickets for competitive games. So try and make it more appealing to those people so they're at least getting to see a Sunderland game. It's better than nothing. I personally don't mind having the opportunity to watch the game from a different part of the stadium. And like Gav, I'm in the standing section and I'm looking forward to that as a bit of a novelty factor. But that's just me personally. I think the vast majority feel much happier being able to buy their seat, to be able to do it in advance. And the fact that they can't do that puts them off, like Gav says. The fact that they can't, the account isn't helping them do it, that puts them off. And like you say, if there was somebody wavering, if there was a couple of events around it, face painting for the kids or whatever, that's going to get a few more people down, and that might be the day that some kid falls in love with the club. So, yeah, if this is to persist, maybe Sunderland do need to have a look around these games and just turn it into an opportunity rather than something that a lot of people are going to come away from just thinking, that was a waste of an afternoon.
Yeah, I'm starting to think Phoenix Knights and get Jerry the Berry down there and all that sort of stuff. But Gav, I want to bring you in on it because for a start, I probably nicked your idea where you were going with that. But
yeah.
it does seem strange, Gav, this last home game. What do you think the thinking is behind it? And do you think they're missing a trick with stuff like that, not trying to make it bigger, like you said?
Oh, well, absolutely. I think everything is an opportunity to do something more. And I know the Beacon of Light do some really good stuff because the fan zone's in there now, and it has been for a couple of years, and they do some really good stuff in there for kids. But I went to the Sunderland women versus Newcastle women game at the stadium last year, and it was my first proper experience of going to a women's game at the stadium, and I took my little girl along, and it was like nothing else I've ever seen at the stadium because there was so much for kids to do. And when you know there's going to be lower crowds, it is an opportunity, isn't it, to try some different stuff. And I just think that a bit of an opportunity missed, but the big one for me, definitely, and there might be some market research on this that says I'm talking shite, but my gut feeling is if they just said full stadium open, big welcome back after qualifying for Europe, first chance to see the lads at the stadium since we beat Chelsea, make a massive deal out of it, market the hell out of it, cheap tickets, you're going to get loyalty points for buying your ticket, and it's a good way to build your loyalty points. After all, people have been complaining a little bit about that. Tied into your membership even, because I'm a season ticket holder, so I think it's £3 off my ticket. So general admission for an adult's $18.50, season card holder is $15.50. But why not tied into the memberships? Say members, new members, you'll get it at a vastly reduced rate. Make it I just don't get. There must be a reason for it. I presume there is a reason for it because they would do these things. They've got very intelligent people in the marketing team, in the club, who know what they're talking about. They know a hell of a lot more about this stuff than I do. Just feels daft to only open up certain parts of the ground, and I just hate it. It looks crap when you're in there. I hate it, and it gives them black and white bastards another thing to take the piss out of, and they haven't got many of those things to take the piss out of. But I just hate seeing big gaps and empty seats, and if they did that, we'd be taking the piss. So I just act a bit more like a Premier League club sometimes. Like, open your full stadium, and if it is half full, so what? Like, at least you've let people have the chance to sit where they want to sit. I don't know. Maybe we're moaning about the wrong thing, but it does grate on us, and it's not the first time it's grated on us, because I thought the exact same last year. when we played Huddersfield, when we played was it Vallecano we played at the stadium? Like, they just, there must be a reason, but I don't like it. Again, I hate it.
Yeah, well, it does seem like an opportunity missed, but look, now we've bigged the game up so much. I think before we
now we've moaned. By the way, one other thing before we move on, Chris, where are you getting all these fag packets from? Because you keep saying you keep writing things on the back of fag packets. I've never seen you smoke, and I know that tabs are expensive these days, and you're not just buying them to write on them.
I
Where are you
purely
getting all these
collect them.
fag packets?
I purely collect them just for my workings out. Got piles of them. Just
You're one of them people who like goes through all the stubbies in the bin and goes through the rubbish.
yeah, well, that's how I do all my finances. Just if I didn't have my fag packets, then I'd be screwed, mate. But yeah, anyway, we need to get on to the football. So look, now we've bigged it up. As I said, we will talk about the football. But first, I think we need to take a quick break. So we'll be back very soon.
Before the season even kicks off, soccer fans are already making predictions. Who wins the league? Who qualifies for Europe? And who's lifting the trophy at season's end? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code CUP26 to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade the beautiful game. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
And welcome back to How We're the Podcast. And if you listened before the break, you'll be really up for this game. You'll be really excited and you can't wait for kickoff. But you might be after we talk about the football. And I'll start with you, Andrew, because we talked about the reasons. Look, why do they do this? And we talked about what they could maybe do off the pitch. Give us some reasons on the pitch. You know what? We've played these games. We've had that competitive game away from home last week where, of course, there was a major trophy on offer that, the players probably got mucky after handling the trophy and lifting it up, made a call. But this last game as a home game, we done it the last couple of years. What do you think that is? Is that getting players back into a bit of a rhythm at the stadium of like, what's the thinking about coming home before we play our first game?
I think there's an element of that. It's kind of getting back into the routine at the stadium of light and just re-familiarising yourself with the surroundings. There's also the transport to factor in. 1 week before the season, do you want to be jumping on a plane again or wasting a load of hours on the road? Players would probably appreciate the opportunity to have a weekend at home with the kids and just come to the stadium of light rather than travelling here, there and everywhere. So I think from the playing side of things and from the squad and the coaching team, it makes sense to have a home game, particularly against, as I touched upon earlier, really good opposition. I think that if the team aren't quite there yet, they're going to have to be by the end of this game because Rennes are a quality side and Sunderland are going to have to be switched on. So no, having a home game in terms of football preparation to me makes a lot of sense. Also, as well, there could have been changes to the stadium alike that we don't know about. I know they're always improving facilities for the fans. There might be something different in the changing rooms I need to get used to, or I don't know. I don't think they've changed the grass this season, but they might have widened the pitch or something like that. So it's all just about getting back to your routine and working everything out.
Yeah, well, I think from some pictures I saw, they've got a nice bright red track now, haven't they? That's about the only thing I've seen or heard of in terms of improvements in and around the ground. That there might be more, though, that I'm not aware of.
I think the dugouts had to be
they have
redeveloped, didn't they? So yeah, there might be little bits and bobs that they just need to get their head around.
Yeah, that's it. But in terms of that opposition, Gav, and I thought it was strong opposition last week in our last kind of away game on the road. But looking at this one, as Andrew said, finished 6th in Ligue 1, as Johnny likes to say. But I can't say it as well as Johnny, of course. He gives the accent and everything. But they finished 6th. They were only 2 points behind Lille in 3rd. and obviously qualified for Europa League as we have. But on paper, it seems like a nice, good test, doesn't it? And hopefully it's as competitive as it was last week.
Yes, I think they've obviously been a club, I think, in France who are admired across the continent for their ability to develop players, and they're seen as a bit of a landing spot for aspiring, maybe a bit like us at the minute, I guess, but to a different degree. They're seen as a bit of a landing spot for players who, basically, if they want some attention, play for Rennes, and then you will get big opportunities off the back of it. And I mean, I know the move was agreed in January, but it didn't go through till July. But Jeremy Jacquet, who's signed for Liverpool, 60 million that they made on that sale. So that they're a club where obviously players go and think, if I can do well there, I can reach the stars. And possibly the best example of this, and I don't know if you're about to come on to him at some point, but would be Eliezer Mayenda, who of course left us over the summer. That's where he finds himself now. And I was looking back at some of their recent pre-season games, and he's just been getting minutes off the bench. I know his summer was extended slightly by playing a bit of international football, so maybe he's just been eased back in, but he's likely to play in this game at the weekend. And yeah, we might talk a little bit more about that. But more importantly, yeah, they're a club who should give us a good test, I think. And they played Brentford last week and got beat 4-2, so they're already playing Premier League opposition. We know that the French league is seen as possibly the closest match to the Premier League when it comes to physicality and the pace of the game and the sort of the tactical setup of the teams and things. It's very, very similar to the English game. So from that perspective, it makes sense to play French teams if we're preparing for a physical league, a physical game against Ipswich. So I'm more than happy with this opposition. I think it makes sense. I'd rather play. Yes, Liverpool didn't have their big hitters out and stuff, but we've played a big club in terms of like one of the elite clubs. But I don't think you get too much from that, if I'm honest. I would rather be playing a sort of middle kind of similar level team who are going to just basically push us without pushing us too far. And that's what this feels like. And as Andrew said, just kind of to agree with what a lot of what he said there, I think just getting the lads back in the stadium, getting a feel for being, the regular pre-match, being in the dressing room, being in the tunnel, being out on the pitch, warming up on the pitch. All these things are really, really important when preparing for games. And unfortunately, we don't start the season with a home game, but, second game of the season in a fortnight's time, we're going to be playing Fulham. And you can't go into that blind, I think. I think it just makes sense if you can get out there and do something to do it. So I would imagine will be the main reason why we've got a home friendly. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the change. There will be a lot of changes, I would imagine. We just maybe won't be privy to all of them yet. But you'll get in there and you'll be like, oh, that's different, that's different, that's different. Maybe we'll get some nice toilets in the southwest corner. That's what I'm hoping for. Although I'll not get to bloody see them today, will I? Because obviously we're not opening that part of the ground up. But, maybe some toilets that you can get more than 3 people in. That would be nice. But I'm not holding my breath on that one. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, looking forward to seeing that red track around the ground because I don't know why, it's just something different, isn't it? What's it going to make? The pictures I saw, it made the pitch look a little bit smaller. But we'll see what it's like. But yeah, ultimately, Chris, happy with who we're playing. I think it should be a good test.
There you go, Gav. Gav always aiming for Sunderland to produce miracles, like nice toilets in his area of the ground. But yeah, I mean, there's a few links. We'll get on to the Mayenda one. Of course, Andrew, you've just very quickly put into the chat about Nordy's brother, who plays for Rennes, and he's out on loan for the season. But also, Régis Le Bris was a player there. Enzo Lefebvre was a player there. I mean, that might have something to do with the choice of opposition. But do you think it's almost, as well as trying to bring someone in for a competitive game, a fellow side who's qualified for the Europa League, do you think it's almost like a last game to say, look, this is a level we're at? That we're playing a team where we're at this level, and this is where we are and want to be almost, and to play a game of that sort of in that bucket, if you like. So we're not playing a team who we're expected to walk over because that might cause pressure for to the start of the season. or an elite side who, if you get beat 3-0, you go, oh, well, okay. But this might be a bit of a marker.
Yeah, I think a marker's a good way to describe it, Chris. Just quickly, is that common knowledge that Mukiele's brother is a professional footballer? Because it's the first ad. It's the first
No,
I've heard of it.
I remember when the friendly was announced, people were saying it's the Mukiele derby and stuff.
Okay.
Aye, so
Yeah.
I did say that a while ago.
Well, it's not to be. Maybe that's why the crowd's not going to be as high as we expected, because the Mukiele derby's off. But no, I think you're right, Chris. It's an ideal test for us, because say we do play one of the elite teams and we take a bit of a scudding, that's not going to do anybody's mood any good. Whereas this game, in order for us to win, we know we need to be at our best, but we're not also hoping for a bit of luck. It's down to us and how we perform. And if we perform as well as we can, that should be enough. And that will tell Le Bris more about where the squad is than knocking a few goals past like a lower division side, or parking the bus and being grateful to only lose to 1-0 against like some top Champions League club. This is going to be as close to a winnable Premier League game, if you know what I mean. The games in the Premier League where we're against other quality sides, but it's only going to be a couple of percent either way to determine who wins. And we were good at that at home last season. We won a lot of games against teams who were around us in the table. To be able to continue again and to have another good season, we know we need to do it. And yeah, there's the links, and the clubs obviously know each other and have presumably got a good relationship with the sale of Mayenda. But it's not just that; it's the fact that they also will pose us a real tricky opposition this afternoon.
Yeah. Well, just very quickly, just to bookmark that point, Andrew, in terms of the links, it is a good chance for Mayenda to have a proper send-off, isn't it?
Yeah. We've said this about a lot of players who've left over the last few months and the last couple of weeks, with Patterson going and what have you. It's nice to wish these lads well, and it's nice that none of them are being chased out of town. They're going with our wishes, and lots of fans are going to keep an eye on them. But for Patterson, his time kind of tailed off because he's not played for us for a while. It was the same with Dan Neil. You never got to have a proper goodbye. Whereas at least with this one, we'll be able to bring the chant out one last time, and there'll be like a very definite, this is our last time. But, unless I say that we'll probably draw them in the Europa League or something. But yeah, this is a time where everybody knows this is his last visit to the stadium, and we can sing his name and just remember the part he's played in the journey.
Yeah, well, I can see the Mayenda chant, in 10 years' time, it's going to be like the Tommy Sorensen one, that we're playing some lower league side of the cup competition early rounds, and the Mayenda chant will come out. I'm sure it's going to be one of those. But Gav, look, in terms of where we're at for this last game, of course, we've only made one new signing so far. The assumption is that we're going to bring some in before the window closes, certainly. So how do you see this prep playing out? Let's say we do bring 3 or 4 in, if maybe even more, but let's say 3 or 4 at least. Is this kind of good prep still, of course, without the signings? I mean, we are going to go in with this with a core team that played last season by the looks of it for that Ipswich game. So, but in terms of new signings bedding in, would it be preferable if they were in before the last friendly?
I don't know. I'm not sure. The reason I'm not sure is because I think Le Bris, he doesn't like to rush players anyways. So even if we sign players this week, there's no chance they would be starting next weekend. But suppose if we'd signed 1 or 2 like a couple of weeks ago, then they might well be in there. I mean, Meunier was already in the team first week back. He was in the team last week, and given we're missing, as far as we're aware anyways, Alderete and Mukiele, we were told last week, would probably only make the bench at Ipswich. That makes you think they're not going to play in the Rennes game, or at least they'd be very lucky to make the team, which makes you think that we're going to be missing quite a lot of height and athleticism from the defence straight away, which makes me think Meunier is probably going to start the first game of the season because he gives us height, experience, and we're going to lose a lot of that through the players we're missing. So in that sense, he would throw somebody in quite early, but it is what it is. We've got to always take the long-term view on all of these things, and the long-term view is that just because, let's use Toulouse as an example with Diane Metali, they're clearly squeezing us and saying, yeah, it was 30, now we won 35. Yeah, it was 35, and now we won 40. That seems to be the rumour. Okay, if that is the case, what do people want us to do? Just pay it. All right, they won 5 million more. Let's just pay it then. Just pay it. Just get him in. Time's running out. Let's just pay it. Or we could play this like a game of chess and say, actually, no, we're not going to pay what you want. Let's wait till you start sweating a bit and you realise that you might not be getting the 40, 35 million you thought you were getting for this player as the minutes dwindle down on deadline day, and then we'll make a deal. And that's probably going to be the strategy. Maybe not as extreme as that, like leaving it right till the last minute to sign players, but you get me drift, right? We shouldn't just pay what teams want us to pay because we're a little bit worried. Like, in my opinion, the team we can field against Ipswich is still a cracking team. It's the team that got us to 7th last year. We've lost Dennis Cirkin and we've lost Mayenda. Unless I'm wrong, have we lost anybody else? And they were just squad players in that squad last season. So they wouldn't have been starting this game anyways if they were in our team still. Have I missed anyone else? I don't think I have I?
Maybe Hertruder, maybe. But again, would we have started? Probably not.
No, probably not. So what we're talking about is basically the squad that got Sunderland into Europe last season and finished 7th is basically the squad we've got now. You tell me that's not good enough to beat Ipswich? It's not good enough to beat Fulham? Of course it is. We might not win them games, but it should be good enough to win those games. So what is the worry about? I'm not worried. Yes, I would have loved to have had 6 brand new players already in the team, but we haven't. And there's very good reasons for why that is. And unless I'm mistaken, we aren't in a shit position. We're in a very good position with a good squad. So the team that we field in the game today against Rennes and the team we field next week will still be a good team, regardless of whether we sign anybody. And that's it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Just quickly, Gav, before go on to the next thing, just wanted to, because you had a big grin on your face when you talked about the Mayenda chant and getting a last chance to say goodbye to Mayenda. And I know you had an interesting kind of time bumping into him in an airport at one point. I'm not sure he had a clue who he was playing in the days after that. But it is nice, like Andrew said, isn't it, to be able to give someone a send off?
Oh, absolutely. If people listen back to the pods that I did after the Chelsea game, I said he's gone because it didn't seem to get picked up on, but he was the only player who broke off from the gathering by the tunnel before the players went around the pitch with their families and did his own thing. He went over to the southeast corner and he done the Mayenda throwing his arms up thing, which kind of became synonymous with him after a victory. And that stuck out to me. And I said, I don't think he's staying. And I was proven to be right. He knew he was leaving then, I think, or he was probably leaving. So he did get a bit of a goodbye. And that was on the biggest day in the club's Premier League history. And in front of a full stadium. It's a little bit disappointing that this is going to be a third of a stadium and probably not the best atmosphere, but he will at least get to go out on a bit of a high, I guess, with that Chelsea one. But at least, he gets to say goodbye properly, is what I mean. We know he's gone. He's got a new club now, and I'm sure he'll get a great reception. He will go down as one of the, when we talk about cult hero Sunderland players, he'll go down right at the top of that list because he achieved so much for us and scored important goals. I mean, how many Sunderland players have ever scored at Wembley? He has. How many Sunderland players have ever scored goals at Wembley that led to a Sunderland win? There's a select few people. So let's not take Eliezer Mayenda for granted. He was a really big part of our history. and I hope he gets the love he deserves, because I'm going to miss his chant as much as I'm going to miss him. I thought probably one of the all-time greatest Sunderland chants and one of the all-time greatest Sunderland cult heroes, in my opinion, because that's what he is. He's a cult hero. He'll always be loved by our lot, and fingers crossed he gets plenty of that love. And fingers crossed, by the way, he doesn't get to score a goal against us, because I don't want him to let me down on the day.
Do you reckon he's going to be allowed to play in his sunglasses? Just as a nice send off.
Yeah. Well, if he scores an own goal, he can wear what he wants, to be honest. He can whack them on after. But actually, just on that, Gav, I was just thinking, as you said, depending on what happens over the next 5-10 years, we might look back and think there weren't many more important goals scored for Sunderland than the Coventry goal and his equaliser at Wembley. Because if the equaliser doesn't happen, then Tommy Watson doesn't get a chance to do what he did. So, yeah, they'll certainly be up there. And even more so if we keep on going the way we're going. But, Andrew, let's just look at the game and go off the starting 11 that we played the last game. Now, from the last couple of seasons, and I'll put this in the preview as well, Régis Le Bris, I think, has always looked at the last friendly as almost the first game. And that's what I'm expecting. But if you look at the starting 11 he played with last week, do you think it's going to be the same again? Do you think he's looking at the last two games to bed in that first 11 for the Ipswich game?
I think so. Yeah, I really do think so. I agreed with a lot of what Gav was saying about transfers. Anybody that comes in now won't be getting put into the team straight away. They'll be getting a bedding in period. So it's almost a case of, well, we've got this far without signing many players. We might as well, like Gav says, let those deals pan out, because there's no point rushing them. They're not going to be involved against Ipswich. They're not going to be involved against Fulham. So why now rush things or pay that little bit extra if you can just hold your nerve? In the meantime, again, like has been said, we've got an excellent squad available to us. The 11 that plays or starts, I think, today, will be the one that starts at Ipswich. And I think, if I've got my memory correct, against Lawns, who was it? Was it Ballard and 09 in the middle?
Yeah, it was,
Yeah. So, in that case, I think it'll be the same team that did start last week.
Yeah. Gav, just building on that, because the first question is the same one to you. Do you think he'll go in with that same starting 11 as he did last week? But the other question I want to ask you, because last week saw Meunier and Xhaka come off at half time, I think it was, because obviously they're still building up their, I suppose, fit. I want to say sharpness, but they've just come from a World Cup, so I suppose having a rest and then getting sharp again, whatever they've needed to have done. And then we made 3 substitutions just after the hour mark with Ballard, Robbie and Gulo coming off. And Zolafir came off with around 20 minutes to go, I think. Do you think that'll be a similar format, or do you think this one is trying to get as many 90 minutes into the legs as possible?
I think they'll try and give them at least 80 minutes or 85 minutes. I think you could tell last week, actually, from Xhaka and Meunier that they were sharp and fit. I know they only played 45 minutes, but they were two of the better players on the pitch, looked in great condition. You think about it, they haven't had that much of a break, really. The World Cup finished, they've had like 2.5, 3 weeks off, and then in that time off, they will have had training programs and they'll have been in the gym every day anyways. When your life is being an athlete and staying fit, you tell me you can have too many days off before you get itchy and you want to be in the gym and you want to be on the treadmill and you want to be out for a run, and you know what I mean? So,
I know exactly what you mean, Gav.
So it's very likely that they're sharp anyways, and it's just about building that fitness up. Now, the other players have been staged in terms of the being brought back into the fold and kind of building up their minutes. We haven't got that luxury, so we've got a big game next week. I think both players will want to try and play a full game in this one. Whether they do, debatable, but I think they'll get at least 75, 80 minutes. I've actually mapped the team out. I've got it on my little, which people can't see. I've got it on my little whiteboard, yeah, just to try and work out what the squad will be.
I mean, if we didn't need a reason to go to do video versions of these, that's it, Gav. That is the main, that's our highest priority, to get that whiteboard onto the video.
It's not quite the mad mistake doing these live streams with the old whiteboard in the background, but it's not far off.
Gav,
yeah,
you're going to be knackered when you go to the shops tonight to get the weekly shopping, and you've rubbed out milk and eggs to put granny. All of that.
I might start drawing little pictures next to them as well. So I'm in agreement, by the way. I think the team will remain the same. So I've went with Robin Roof's back four of Thomas Meunier, Dan Ballard, Luke O'Nien, Renildo Mandava, Granit Xhaka in the 6th position, with Noah Siddiqui playing that wide left 8th position, and Enzo doing the same on the right-hand side of the midfield. Trey Hume out on the right. Nilson Angulo I've opted for as the left winger, purely because he's just had them couple of extra games more than Talby, and has looked pretty sharp. And I think Talby showed why maybe off the bench he's a bit of an option at the start of the season when he came on and changed the game up. You know, we know that Regis likes starters and finishers. So I've went with Angulo on the left and Bobby up top. And then the bench, I don't know how many names we're going to name, but this is what I've got, providing there's been no injuries. I've got Melker Elborg, Chris Rigg, who's another impact player, and you could argue could be within a shout of starting ahead of Hume on that right-hand side, but they both played so well in that last game, and I just think, again, he gave us impact off the bench, and that's probably where I think Regis is going to see him, at least until we get a proper right winger in who can cut inside and do sort of that Ahmad role that we want somebody to do on the right. So, Chris Rigg can be that player off the bench. Still referencing bloody Ahmad. He hasn't played for us for 4 years or whatever it is, but you know what I mean. Shamsden Talby, who I mentioned before, Wilson Isidore, Habib Diarra, Jensen Seelt, Timur Tutierov, Romain Mundal, Alan Brown, Jocelyn Tarby, who's another player you could argue gives us impact on that side of the pitch, and potentially Adji Elise, because he's been back around the first team in France last week. Maybe, because we're low on defenders, he could be seen as somebody who can keep around until something better comes along. But yeah, I think that to me is a very strong 11, and then a strong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bench players. You can see we need options, don't we? We need players, but that's a good side. That's a very good side, and that's without Mukiele. That's without Omar Alderete. So we've got options. We've got options going into the Ipswich game, but that for me has to be the team, I think, because I know we're playing a home game on Saturday, but we are preparing for an away game against a promoted team, and I'm interested to see how much of this game we spend on the ball, because that'll give you an idea of what we're planning to do at Ipswich. Are we going to go and try and dominate the ball in a difficult environment away from home, as we did? I would argue actually the Lens game was great preparation for that, because the atmosphere was white hot. We had all the ball, and we were away from home in their backyard. And I know it was a friendly, but the atmosphere, it didn't feel like a friendly, and the game was played at a good pace. So yeah, they're a couple of little interesting things I'm looking out for in this game, whether or not Regis kind of goes full tilt and takes the game to runs, or whether we sit back, because that'll tell you about how we're probably going to approach Ipswich.
Mm-hmm. Well, Gav's just done a couple of his, Andrew. So what are you looking out for in this game? Because I know when I'm watching these last couple of friendlies, I'm always tend to see kind of patterns of play, and the odd kind of trigger for the press and things like that. Just as sometimes just little clues give you away, because I don't think we go all out with the plan, but I think a couple of times we'll try a couple of things that we've been trying in training, where you'll see one player go for the press and then suddenly you'll see everyone going, or something like that. It's more like those little clues I try and look out for. But what are you going to be looking out for in this game?
Well, I think, the press, we pick and choose when to do it, but we're actually quite canny, and we seem to choose the right times. I've also seen a couple of times in pre-season we're a lot more effective on the break. The second goal last weekend, Chris Rigg won the ball, and then suddenly it's out wide, and Talby's, galloping down the wing. I think the Lafay goal, it must have been against Liverpool. I mean, it was a cracking long-distance shot, but again, we'd won possession around the edge of our own box, and then suddenly moved forward a lot quicker than we maybe did in the past. There were certainly times in the Premier League season where we weren't as, I don't want to say direct because it wasn't long ball, but we weren't as focused on breaking away. So yeah, hopefully we'll see more evidence of that. In terms of individuals, I'm really keen to see whether Jensen Seelt gets a decent amount of time. I know what Gav says in that the majority of players are probably going to get 80, 85 minutes and then make changes. If we see Seelt coming on for half an hour or for the majority of the second half, I think that's a clue as to exactly how far Aldrete and Mukiele are. Because at the moment, behind Ballard and 09, I don't think we've got a lot available. So Seelt probably does need to be ready if called upon. So his role this afternoon, I think, will maybe give us a little bit. It will tell us more than just purely, Seelt deserves a few minutes.
Well, Gav, let's say you're coming out of the stadium after the game and you're looking back. What's the best possible outcome that you could hope that you're looking back on it, coming out the stadium and you're going, that was perfect. I mean, what's the best outcome for this? Because quite often it's difficult to really, to have 100% successful friendly, isn't it?
I mean, the best possible outcome would be like a 100-0 win, something like that. But I mean, if we're being realistic,
yeah, but if someone picks up a knock, you'd rather get beat, wouldn't you?
Yeah. No, I'm thinking maybe a similar to last week, 2 or 3-0 win, where everything just looks like it's starting to click. Because that was last week, everything looked like it was starting to click. I thought if I was being picky last week, maybe could have put some chances away in the first half. So, if I'm looking for improvements on last week, if we basically in every game in pre-season, this has been a common theme. We've been the better side, and in a lot of them earlier games, we just couldn't put the ball away. And I think that was great to see last week that Calby and Chris Rigg came on the pitch and offered us something, and wasn't Isidore, offered us something a bit different, and we put some goals away. But yeah, I mean, if I'm seeing what would be perfect, probably 2 or 3-0 win, but goals in both halves. Brobby getting a goal would be great. I'm not massively bothered about the fact he hasn't scored in pre-season, but we know strikers are confidence players, and it can only be a benefit if he goes into that first game of the season having put one in the back of the net, because he's gotten to good positions in pre-season, but he hasn't really got the shots on target or been as clinical as he was towards the end of last season. So I want to see that. But yeah, clean sheet, couple of goals, 3 if I'm being greedy, Brobby getting on the score sheet, everyone unscathed, and maybe Trey Hume to keep shutting people up and have another good game, because he was great last week. The people who think he should be nowhere near the team on the right-hand side couldn't really argue with how he played, and I think if he can do that again, going into Ipswich, it can only be a good thing. So, aye. Not asking for much, Chris. Not much.
No, as usual, just miracles with those toilets. But just to see us out, because we started on a bit of a downer, Gav, inject a bit of excitement into it, because, look, first time being back to the Stadium of Light since Chelsea, you're looking forward to it, aren't you?
Oh, I cannot wait. Weather's going to be lovely. Everyone's going to be wearing their brand new kits. The pitch will be gleaming if we haven't had a hose pipe ban. Should be better than pretty much all the other grass in the northeast at the minute. But no,
it's
I always
the
think
only place in the country that hasn't.
Well, I love that's one of the great things about pre-season is you don't have to comply with the pitch cutting regulations in the Premier League, so the ground staff can get a bit creative with how they cut the grass if they want. And that was great last week at Lons to see the pitch. It just looked great with those lines on it. So something like nice, crisp looking summer's day, great pitch. Get out, man. Just get out and watch the team. I think that's the big thing. Like, I know it's been a bit of a shitter with the accounts and the ticketing and stuff, but like I say, I've left it a bit later. I've managed to get me tickets, no bother. Make sure, you're buying for people in your network and you should be fine. But just get along and watch the team again. I think any excuse to go and watch Sunderland, you should be doing it. And look, the last time most people that have seen them will have been in that Chelsea game when they gave us great memories. let's welcome them back. Let's let them know that we're behind them for the start of the season. And get your kids along. Like my mate's bringing his little one, who you can't get tickets for. You just can't. It's impossible at the minute. It's even harder this season. He's bringing his little one along. You know, it's a cheap day out, relatively speaking. It's only a 10-hour ticket for the young uns, which I don't think is too bad. So yeah, let's just let's try and end pre-season on a good, positive note and make sure that the lads know we're behind them.
And you're the same, Andrew. You've planned to go in the standing area for a bit of novelty, and you're the same. Looking forward to it, mate.
Definitely, yeah. At the end of the day, the reason we do all of these pods is because we love watching Sunderland play, and it's an opportunity to watch Sunderland play. The weather and all of that. I mean, Gav says he's looking forward to it. I'm just going to be hiding on the walk down wherever there's a bit of shade. I'll be crossing the roads to just stay in the shade and making sure I'm well back under the roof, because otherwise I think I'll just burn to a crisp. But other than that, I cannot wait. Should be a great afternoon.
Last time I checked, 30% chance of rain. So you never know.
Oh,
Might
well,
actually
that'll help our slick passing as well, Chris. So
Yes.
all the better.
Aye.
Absolutely. Hopefully they'll not attract any sliding tackles that maybe put a couple of players out for the opening day. Let's keep our fingers crossed. But anyway, that just leaves us to say thank you very much once again to Gav and Andrew. Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen, and of course your valuable insight as always. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. Join us for all the reaction to this last friendly over the weekend, and then join us for all the build-up to Ipswich Town on the opening day of the season. We're here every day, as always, on How We're the Podcast in the build-up to that. And the real thing is only 1 week away, so listen out for everything we've got coming, because it's one of the best times of the year, as I've said previously. As long as we get a result next Saturday. But that's for next week. So from us, it's bye for now.